Okay, so this is a 2009 GL 550, and this is the rear entertainment system. And alas, something has happened to this screen. So what we'll be doing is we're going to be removing the screen. And it's the first time I've ever done it, so let's see how this works. Okay, by looking at it, I had grabbed some tools. Looks kind of like it comes off over here on the back. This headrest is up. However, for those of you who may or may not know, you pull up on this and up she goes. That ought to give us the space needed to mess with this thing. We'll take a look here in a second and see, make sure I don't break anything. Okay, by the looks of it, looks like you're gonna squeeze these sides right here and pull up to the top, like so. As you can see, it's got tabs like that, and then it's got tabs like this. And looks like we got ourselves some torque fittings here. I'm just gonna have to find out what size that is, and we'll start removing these bolts, as well as looks like we got a couple of connectors here. Make a little bit of a removal out of those. And this little guy right here. Whoops, let's see. Right, simply, of course, every time. So easy. There we go. Never easy in real life. And then we'll find out what Torx fitting that is. Alright, found out it was a T25. So let's go ahead and start the removal. See if we can't lose some of these in the process. That's why we have cup holders. Put all that stuff in there. Looks kind of like a tab and slot type deal. And that's how it's acting. Just simply pull it right up. Look at that. Come right off. Yeah, it's a Mercedes Benz. Look at that, Mitsubishi Electric, of course. And as Mercedes always does, there's their listing of all the part numbers and all the neat stuff that you need to know. Next step is we're going to go ahead and see about taking this thing apart, because apparently this screen is a replaceable assembly, just the screen itself, not the whole component. So let's take a look at that. Okay, swapped on over to the back seat. A little bit more room. And looks like number 2 Phillips. And again, this is my first time doing it as well, so we're learning together. Hopefully it's one of those simply remove and replace type deals. So we're about to find out. And now those screws are gone. It does just simply lift out. And of course, I'm assuming it's going to be these 4 right here off the plastic body. But I don't know that for sure yet. We're going to start with that and try not to break anything. Alright. Okay, so now we removed those 4 screws. And they did need to come out because I was messing with it a little while ago. And we use a flathead to pry this case apart. And don't forget, there's a little black plastic deal here that just pulls right out. As you can see right there, it's got a couple of little deals there. You just pull it out like that. And that makes it so that it'll clear those connectors. So let's go ahead, take the flathead. Just kind of pry a little bit. And it'll come right apart. Try and do this with one hand. As you can see, not a film editor by any sense of the means. Alright. Well, try to do it without marring it. It's probably a good idea that I'm doing this on the bottom that no one's ever going to see. Alright. I took a pause there just to be able to get it started. And as you can see, just simply go all the way around. Kind of a two-handed operation, but can be done with one hand, as you can see. Alright, now that we've pried that off of there, and of course, nice tip, always start on the bottom or someplace where people aren't going to see. So if you do mar it up, like I did, got a couple chips on here, at least it will be an area no one can see what you messed up on. And by the looks of it, this heatsink assembly here, or aluminum frame assembly, it's got the PC board connected to it, so I'm going to assume that all of these little guys right here will end up coming off to release the face of the actual screen. So we'll see if that's true or not. Alright, I saved your ears from having to listen to my drill take out all of these screws, but the aforementioned screws that we were just pointing at earlier, all of them did need to come out. And just as a side note, they are a different length and pitch thread than all of the other screws that were used to put the take the assembly and the back shell and all that stuff off of this, so do keep them separate. Looks like we got a couple plastic tabs here. Just gonna pull on them and get those things to get loose. And does indeed look like that is all that needs to happen to release the front of that right off. Just comes right off just like that. And there we go. We got our screen assembly along with the rest of the mechanism, and by the looks of it, 4 screws, 1, 2, 3, 4. And the screen assembly itself probably comes off from there. Let's take a look and see if that's indeed the case. So just kind of looking at this thing and investigating a little bit. I don't know if you guys have ever dealt with ribbon cables. They're tons of fun. This little bad boy right here on the side. Just kind of wiggle it out carefully. And there's not much to them. And not much to breaking them either. As you can see, they're pretty thin, and there's the receptacle that it goes into. If you've ever done like tablets or phones, ribbon cables is what it's all about. Looks like for this bad boy, there's one more ribbon cable there at the bottom, and we'll probably have to take this metal deal off here, screws here and here. We'll see where that's what that avails us. Alright, so now we have taken the screws out on that metal plate, those top 2 right there. And we also had to take out the screws on this PC board right here, which is part of the IR assembly. And be real careful, because as you can see, it's plugged in with this little connector right here. So when you go to take it out, just simply, of course simply, pull it carefully, and it'll just come right out in your hand and make more of a mess as this metal plate comes out, and we just dig further and further into this project. And alas, there's the other ribbon cable. We'll go ahead and remove that. Okay, so this ribbon cable assembly here is a little bit different. Probably going to get flamed for letting that dangle with the ribbon cable like that, but if you notice, there's a lock on here. There's a black bar that goes right across here, and this actually flips upward. So simply, as we say, never is, flip that bad boy up like that, and the ribbon cable pops right off. So, and hopefully putting this all back together will be just as easy as taking it apart, right? Oh, and just as a side note too, once you start taking stuff apart and you have it out like so, try to avoid touching any of the subcomponents that are on there with your hands and whatnot. They put coatings on a lot of these solder joints and things of that nature to kind of reduce corrosion, things of that nature. And if you don't have to take the PC board off of the actual case itself, try to avoid from doing that as well, because that's part of the whole electrostatic discharge safety features. They usually have these are connected with points that help ground the actual assembly so that it's less susceptible to ESD. And then here is a look at the back of our part here with the ribbon cables as such. And we'll be ordering one of these, installing it, and then checking to see if it works out well. Okay, so new screen. The installation, reversive removal, things of that nature. Go ahead and put that in there. You'll notice that there's a couple of tabs that just goes just past those tabs, and that's when you know you got it in the right position. Is that we're going to clear those two little plastic tabs are going to get into the slots right there, and then that's when we're going to drop that latch right on top of it, like so. Simply, of course, right? Gonna be nice and secured as such. Probably get flamed for using a metallic screwdriver at any part of that process, but so be it. Alright, and then this little ribbon cable over here on the side also has a couple of plastic tabs on there, although I did notice that when I went to install it, or when I went to go remove it rather, that they didn't seem to have any kind of indicator as to being too far in or too far out. So just go ahead and okay, kind of struggling with keeping this thing on while putting the ribbon cable in. So before we put that ribbon cable in, let's go ahead and take the 4 screws that actually hold the screen on. We're going to put those little bad boys right back in to help hold the screen while we're doing the rest of it. Okay, got those 4 screws back in, holding the screen on. And that makes it a lot easier for us to be able to take this ribbon cable assembly right here and just kind of carefully put it back in. Easier said than done, right? That's what they say. At least that's what I say. Oh, there it goes. Oh, that was pretty easy. Look at that. Maybe that's the reason for these tabs. Who knows? Anyhow, back in like so. Alright, so those are those cables, and next order of business, that multi-pin connector here, and we're going to have to be super careful about that. There's really not, pretty thin, not much to them. That's how the IR assembly attaches to it. If I can get the camera to focus. Well, you get the idea, right? There you go. Okay, like I said, carefully, you're going to line that up just right. When you do, you'll be able to push it, just go right in. And then all that will line up. And we'll go ahead and we'll get that metal covering back on here. Correction, my first edit. Get the metal covering on first, because these little tabs right here actually go underneath that PC board. And then go ahead and plug that in. Okay, well, now that that's in, we can go ahead and put our screws in right there. It was actually kind of a good idea that I put this board in first before putting that metal covering, because it made it a lot easier to be able to see the pins and show you guys how that goes in. Alright, so that's all back in. Good stuff. Go ahead and put this on. Now remember that this PC board here was part of the IR sensor, so when you go to put your cover back on, there is one side that has the window for it. The other side's just the top. So when putting this cover, ensure that the IR sensors match up with the window, not the other side. Little plastic tabs right here. That's how it's going to be affixed on first. Okay, now that we have all our little plastic tabs in like so, we can go ahead and put all these little screws back in again. Those. Okay, so now that's done with all of those screws. Saved you from having to listen to the drill put in like 9 different screws. And incidentally, I don't think there was any way to be able to put that faceplate on backwards, because the screw holes are keyed as well too. So I don't think anybody could have messed that one up. Now it's time to go ahead and put on this back plate right here. We'll go ahead and snap it in like so. And then of course there are the 4 screws that we took out to do it. And don't forget, we also need to put this little deal right back on like so. Bam. Just slides right on. Only one way that that goes too. Okay, now we've got our 4 screws in there. It's going to be time to go ahead and put the final piece back in here like so. It's got some tabs that go right here and just slide in right simply, of course, like so, and then comes down and sort of snaps in place in a way. It's got some guide pins and stuff, and then we got the 3 screws that go in there as well. And I happen to think about it, we're dealing with aluminum and plastic here, so when putting the screws back in, snug. I wouldn't even say German torque, which of course everyone knows is Guten tight, but you wouldn't even want to go that far. You want to go snug. We're talking about inch-pounds here. Very, very little torque that goes into these things, and that's all it really needs. Okay, those 3 screws are in. Time to take this thing. Let's go ahead and plug her back in, put her back on. Alright, so as you can see, got some grooves here. Gonna go right into tab and slot type action. Slides right onto the top. Kind of just get her nestled in there. You can see the screw holes going all the way down through. And also, no way to screw these up. They are color coded, and on top of that, even if you were colorblind, they're keyed. So no way to screw that up. Simply plug it right back in. You hear the click? You're good. Now time to put those screws back in. Alright, so got those 3 screws back in. And time to put this cover on. Top of it's got like a tab of sorts, and then there's like a snap-in tab on the bottom part. So simply, as we say, start from the top like so, push down on the bottom, snap right back in. Let's see how it worked out. And looks like the kids will be watching Shark Tale in peace. Thanks so much for watching this video. Hope I didn't make too many people seasick. And this is a great way to be able to pay $60 instead of $300 to have it replaced. If you ever needed to just replace the whole unit altogether, just follow the first couple of steps on this. A heck of a lot easier. But if you want to save 250 bucks, buy the screen by itself. And that's how you replace it. Alright, thanks for watching. Bye.